and I want to welcome you to the EVE Cup, a tournament hosted by EVE in an attempt to bring some legitimacy to EVE Online by turning it into an esport, that subgenre of gaming where grown men compete to justify their lack of real-world skills. Just think, if we keep this up, EVE Online could turn into this.
LMQ going hard. Triple kill! Goes into Osaka! Gets the corner!
With the EVE Cup, several virgins will battle to win an imaginary tournament before logging off and actually facing the real world. So sit back, grab the popcorn, and waste a perfectly good weekend with us here at EVE as we determine who will win the bragging rights of being the best in a video game about spaceships.
Hello everyone, welcome to this new talk show we have called Behind the Scenes. The intent of this show is to really, talk about the tournament scene and how tournaments are ran, kind of both from the commentator, like kind of behind the scenes perspective of people who run it, as well as the player and the participant perspective. So we have a huge guest lineup here, and I will go through and introduce everyone. So Battle Dog, you want to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, sure. I'm Participant Tranquility. Part of the AT team as well, and team captain of Team Johnny for the championship in the Major League.
Alright, Hoodie Mafia.
Hey, I'm Hoodie Mafia. Like Battlehawk, I'm actually a member of Tuskers on TQ, and I'm captain of the other team in the Major Leagues.
Alright, and Nikal.
Hey, I'm Nikal Vaszol. I'm currently part of the initiative, and I'm quite new around here. What's up?
Not much. Alright, thank you guys. And we also have Loca joining us shortly. I know he is super busy in real life, so hopefully he will make it to us soon. But otherwise, for now, we can make fun of him and give him, I don't know, a bunch of really difficult questions, I guess, if anyone has. But yeah, are you guys, I was going to say, tomorrow is the minor league, and I just showed the EVE Cup, which was actually the commercial Manic Velocity made, which actually happened a couple weeks ago. And you guys, I was going to say, all of you guys aren't really in the minor league. You guys are more in the major league. So, are you guys going to be around to watch that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not going to say that I'm going to take notes from it or anything, but I'll definitely be there to enjoy watching the matches and laugh at random things that happen. And of course, explosion's always good. So.
You said.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah.
I was gonna say, you mentioned taking notes, so do you only watch just for the entertainment value, or do you try to, study your opponents? Because the winners of the minor league eventually make their way to the major league. I guess if you do bad in the major league, you'll end up in the minor league.
It's probably just a tiny bit too early, I think, to study people coming from the minor league for specific things that they do in a team. But I think there are some really good teams in the minor league, so looking for specific band sets or how they handle, opposing bands and what kind of things they pick, I think that is interesting. And even major league teams can easily learn stuff from that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that, especially with some of the fit changes that Bayes put in after the cup finished. So it'd be interesting to see how people use those and what ships become popular now.
Alright, awesome. And you mentioned fits. So I know after being on a team, especially for the EVE Cup, that a lot of times the people who immediately joined, they're like, okay, well, how's the tournament ran? I love tournaments. And then they looked at the fits and they were just, offended. They were extremely offended at some of these fits. Do you guys have the same impressions of that?
I could probably see why some of them don't like them. I guess in other tournaments, being able to freely make your fit and make your own composition is quite nice, but I think one of the biggest things I took away from the having the fits already decided was it kind of forced people to play in certain play styles, and they may have not otherwise have gone for those at all. And some of them I think worked out very, very well. I personally loved the micro jump drive play. There were some amazing games with that with Hyperions.
Yeah, on the fits thing, I think there's definitely some people that kind of prefer to make their own so they can tailor a ship to do exactly what they want it to do. But there's definitely a lot of value in kind of set fits because obviously it makes balancing a bit easier and you can kind of make it a lot more varied so it isn't just people are only going to use this ship because it's if you fit it this way, it's better than anything else you can possibly do. I think Bay's done a reasonably good job at balancing things. So yeah, it's definitely interesting some of the options he's got. I mean, I think some people as well are a little bit wary about being forced to use a ship a certain way, like you already mentioned there, really.
I know Hoodie. Yeah, Hoodie and Battle Dog. You guys are both on Tuskers, and Tuskers obviously won the Alliance tournament. So while there are, I mean, I see the huge benefit of having preset fits, but would you guys probably still put as much work in to the Alliance tournament if there were preset fits, or would you kind of be like feel that like the theory crafting and the metagaming? Would you guys feel that would be taken away from you?
That would be pretty terrible if they made pre-fit fits in the Alliance tournament, to be honest. I think, and that's also, you already said it, that's a bit why people don't like it here. It is a bit of the theory crafting being taken away from it. I think there's still a ton of options, and there's definitely skill even in the theory crafting now that there are pre-made fits. But I feel like if you would do that for the AT, you would take hundreds of hours of work away, which I guess would make it more accessible, would definitely, reduce a lot of the depth that normally goes into the Alliance tournament. And I definitely wouldn't prefer.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that generally. I think having sort of preset fits is good if you want to just do something that's fun and you don't want to spend a long time basically maximizing things and optimizing stuff and working out exactly what you think is the best way of doing something. But again, there's people that love to do that as well. So, but I think for something like the AT, where it's kind of supposed to be the best of the best, you really need to leave that depth in there for them. Whereas for the championship, it's a lot better to give them preset fits and make it a lot more accessible for people, like Hoodie said.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. I'd like to see them remain having player-made fits purely because of that. Just letting them bring, giving them the options and just saying you bring what you think is right, and then that just adds a whole nother level of metagame to it, really.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Do you guys have a favorite then? Like a favorite pre-made fit ship that, like, I don't know, some people may find looks really bad, but you just really like it?
Yeah. You mean in terms of performance?
Yeah, either performance or just a ship because you like to fly it and it's kind of like, I don't know, kind of cheesy almost.
I'm in love with the Scorpion. I love it. It's great.
Hoodie's lying really. What he really loves is the stabber. And he shed tears when he saw the stabber fit this season.
Oh man.
No comment.
On a serious note, though, I think it's kind of better to mention last season because last season one of my favourite ships was the Crucifier, and nobody really rated it. But for me, it was one of the most useful things. I mean, it had a tracking disruptor, it had a guidance disruptor, it brought a web, it was nice and quick, and yeah, it had plenty of drones as well. So yeah, it was. Plus, it had some really nice skins, which is always important.
Is that kind of hinting at maybe next weekend when the major leagues come up that you're going to be using a Crucifier then?
Oh, it's changed this year. It's changed. But Bay, I almost shed tears when I saw what Bay's done to it. Painful. Painful to see.
I was going to say, does it now
Yeah.
have a missile disruptor?
It does. What I think Bay did is he looked at all these ships, and Crucifier is one of them, where he looked at them and he said, "Well, I think this ship was picked once. Let's make sure that never ever happens again." And he changed the fit.
Picked once by me, and we won, so yes.
Yeah, whatever. I'm gonna be honest about it. I love what Bay has done with the fits, but there are several of them which might have like kind of bit the dust a bit here and there. I think the new Crucifier is probably one of them.
Yeah, there's definitely some that I mourn the changes on, shall we say. But yeah, I think he's done quite a good job with the balancing. I mean, the more I look at the fits, the more I kind of like the changes he's made and the options he's given us, really.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say, I know for me looking at the fits, just looking at what does it do and what's gonna be the intent, especially as a commentator, it's a little different than being in the pilot seat and trying to, look at everything on paper and theory craft what's best. But as a commentator, it's very simple. You're just like, oh, well, this is an E-War ship, so obviously they're gonna use E-War to try and, screw over the other team, or this is a Logi ship. So yeah, it may not be the best fit, or, they might have small rips instead of medium, but they're obviously going to use it to rep their team.
Yeah, I would have thought the pre-made fits was kind of a godsend for the commentators, really, because you basically got a sheet that tells you exactly what ships are fit with and exactly what they can do. So I would have thought it'd be a lot easier to commentate. But I mean, obviously people use them in different ways, of course. So I guess that throws some spanners in the works for you guys.
Yeah, and some of the feedback, so I've been asking a lot, especially AT pilots. I'd say like, oh, what's your feedback or what's your gripe with like commentators? They would always say that their biggest like annoyance was that commentators would try to guess or try to theory craft what the team was going to do. Especially like in the middle of a fight, they're going to be like, oh, they're going for their logic to do this or that or this or that. And it's one thing to be in the pilot seat to say what you're doing, and then it's another to be able to just like sit there and watch it, and you can kind of see all what's going on, but you can't really get in the mind of the pilot. Would you guys think like that's your biggest gripe with the commentator, or is it other things that like bitching about skins or something like that?
This feels like you're poking me to talk about Chess's commentary here now.
Yeah, sometimes commentators can be kind of mean, but no, like beyond that one, beyond Chesser being kind of like throwing max shade during tournaments. I mean more of, like,
For me, it would be the fact that sometimes like really big things are clear things are missed. I'm not that like mad when people or commentators try to like look into our minds and try to guess what we're doing, even if they're sometimes completely wrong, because you can't just always guess it correctly. But sometimes you see something very clearly obvious that is happening, like something MJD'd on top of a Logi and is killing it, and it's kept completely missed, and it's like, oh, the Logi is down. It's kept mentioned at some point, and those are sometimes kind of the points that I think is a bit of a shame. Like if we could catch those things better. But on the other side, I know how hard it is. I've tried it myself, and it's so much stuff going on.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that obviously there's things that we complain about and stuff, but I think we all appreciate how difficult the job can be at times and stuff. And obviously, it's an entertainment show at the end of the day, so you kind of you've got to make it as entertaining as you can when effectively you're watching ships move around and you're not seeing the full UIs that we see, obviously, so you can't see exactly what we're doing or things like that.
Yeah, definitely. Compared to like some games, I'm more used to casting like StarCraft 2 and that. But EVE, as far as like a spectator sport goes, it's a lot harder to watch. It's a lot harder to get into, I think, for a lot of players. And sort of having the predictions there, especially when the game's raging on, it can be a blessing and a curse. I think the golden sort of point with it is to keep it small. Don't try and predict the entire game, but as the guy said, you can kind of predict if someone gets micro jump dive on top of, then they're probably going to die fairly quick. So it's okay to predict stuff like that. But when you start saying, oh, so and so are basically going to win the game at this point, I think that takes quite a lot out of the game commentary.
yeah, I get what you're coming from. And I've seen commentators either like Hoodie was saying, like missing big things, or sometimes they'll like I've seen commentators like, especially myself, like I'll say what's going on, but I won't really understand why. And like I think that's one of the most confusing things, because obviously to a viewer, like the viewers can't really see it. Like the camera work sometimes is very difficult to capture everything. So you have to try and explain it to a viewer, but then you don't really know what's like why it's happening. So you kind of say, well, they're shooting drones, but you don't know why, because there's another player sitting right there that they could shoot. And so I always find I always find that to be a struggle of like how do you convey things properly to a viewer without like, even if you don't know everything that's going on.
And there's also different levels of viewers. There's going to be some Alliance tournament pilots that are viewing your stream, and there's also going to be some people that have never flown in a tournament.
And EVE is a game of circumstances which can change extremely quickly. So you can easily be talking about two battleships duking it out at the very top of the beacon. Meanwhile, miss a frigate just getting wiped off the field completely because he dropped his transverse and was webbed at the same time. So on one side, yes, you do want to go for the big action points because ships exploding is one of the big points of the match. But at the same time, you don't want to necessarily interrupt a quite crucial point or tipping point in the game just for that. So again, it is a hard balance, I think.
Yeah, I think one thing we really should mention is the great work some of the camera guys do. I mean, the commentators, obviously, you're kind of limited to commentating on what's actually being shown. And the camera guys generally do a great job of like finding something that's about to die, not necessarily showing you something that's about to catch something, things like that. So it definitely makes it a little bit harder for the commentators, but it's probably about as good as you can do from what you're going to show from the cameraman point of view anyway.
Yeah, and I know from like helping, like working with our cameramen, that a lot of times like we have to be very specific of saying, oh, this ship piloted by this pilot is doing XYZ, so that way they can easily use their overview and find it and show it to the viewers. And sometimes, obviously, like like this tournament's a lot smaller, so 5v5, so 10 people on the field max. So a lot of times it's a lot easier to find it, but like if you catch something that had just happened, like a pilot boundary violating or somebody just getting alphaed off the field, like the cameramen can't really see that. But they do pretty well at capturing everything. I think actually tomorrow, kind of a little spoiler, but we're probably going to have a new video with actually in-game footage of tournaments or of tournament, I guess fights happening, rather than like CGI like we've had in the past. Hey Loca, how are you?
Hello, I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Do you want to give yourself an introduction for the camera and the viewers?
Sure, so hello viewers, I am Loca, speaking from my brand new apartment, which currently doesn't have a bed. This is how rushed I was to get here. But so I am typically one of the Logi pilots for Power Ducks, who have recently got into the minor league through the 7th place playoff. I also do the social media and marketing management for Eventi. So hopefully you'll get to see me a little more during the tournaments, and I get to see both sides of the coin and see just how interesting this place gets.
Nice. So we have Battledog and Hoodie Mafia, who are both in the majors, and so you're obviously in the minors, like you just said with Power Ducks. So you'll be playing tomorrow. What are you looking forward to most tomorrow?
Hopefully not losing all our matches. I mean, that's pretty exciting, the thought of that. The minor league's really interesting because there's so many new teams that know each other quite well from coming from the cup. So it's going to be interesting to see, especially the mirror matches, the ones that have already happened in the cup, whether teams are going to really shake up their comps or whether they're just going to play it safe and go with what they know, what they've seen is strong. It's been interesting to see if the meta's developed at all with the 2 weeks of practice that we've had since the cup, and also it'd be nice to see how well people can consistently do. The single elimination format is very threatening, but it can also be good to you. You only have to win 3 matches to make it into the league, whereas once you're in the league, you've got a lot more to deal with, a lot more people to play against. It's going to be one hell of a good time trying to find out how you can do. But as far as Power Ducks goes, I'm just really hyped. I know we're all really excited to get started and ongoing with the league. We want to see how well we can do.
Nice, that's good to hear. And you mentioned 2 weeks of practice. How often have you been practicing? Has it been a lot, or have you guys just kind of like taken a break after making it through the cup?
We've definitely been getting some practices organised. We've been trying to hook up with other teams and getting involved with them. We've tried to get as much practice done as we can. It's difficult during the weekdays, especially when teams such as ourselves are multi-time zone. But generally, we have practiced quite a bit. Hopefully, that'll turn into some good results. We'll see how it turns out. We're feeling confident, but we're ready for some very hard challenges ahead.
And then Battledog and Hoodie, I know I asked you guys before the show had started, like about your Alliance tournament practices. How much have you guys been prepping for the major leagues for season 2 of Championship?
We've been going pretty heavy at it. Like Loca already said, it's we have a mixed time zone team as well. At least I have the other team. So it's pretty much just practice on weekends. We're trying to get some stuff done in the weekdays, but it's rough to get it done. But at least 2 practices a week. We're taking it serious, but we're not going overboard.
Yeah, we've got a similar approach, really. I mean, we've got people in different time zones. I mean, the last few weeks as well, we've had to contend with one of our guys, Ithaca Hawk, being in Australia, which is basically the opposite time zone. So he's been coming to practices and getting up at like 5:30 in the morning, practicing, and then going to work for the day. So it's definitely been interesting some days.
So you guys definitely practice. I know when I did the cup that my team did not practice and we just kind of winged it, but that's probably why we didn't make it very far.
Excuses.
We all wanted you to win.
I know, but like at the same time, I don't think any of us wanted to practice. We just we're like, oh, we're solo pilots. We can all, just throw us in a team together. We'll be fine. And obviously that didn't work too well.
Yeah, and one of the good things about the format is that you can kind of take that approach, and if you, as long as the guy that's doing the banning, or the person that's doing the banning, I should say, has a good idea about what ships are capable of what and things like that, you can kind of come out with a comp that's reasonably good. And then from that point on, it's down to piloting really. So it's definitely viable to do that and win, to be honest. And it's certainly more fun in some cases to do that rather than be like, you're flying this and you have to do this and that's all you can do, kind of thing, you know.
Do you find tournaments, or not tournaments, but a lot of these matchups, do you find the reason someone won was because of piloting, or was it because of the pick ban phase, like before people even got into the arena?
I think it's probably just about as important. Like, a lot of stuff is done in the bans, and you can clearly see it when like a team hasn't practiced a set of bans against specifically what you're doing, because they won't have the optimal picks. And at that point, you're already significantly behind, right? So you need to be significantly better in piloting than the other team at that point to overcome it. But at the same time, when you have two teams that have a decent matchup, there is still a lot of piloting involved, despite it being pre-made stuff and despite it only being 5v5 on the field. You can quite easily fuck up.
Yeah, I think when it comes to bans and stuff, it really depends on how both teams approach it. As long as you don't get one team that really goes for it and really screws over the other team, then you're going to get a good fight, whatever, really. And yeah, it just comes down to piloting after that. And I mean, obviously, if you're in a what you might consider a suboptimal comp compared to what you're facing, then it's going to be harder for you. There's definitely ways to win with almost everything, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't definitely think we saw a few examples of that in the last cup, because I think we got to a total of 3 or 4 boundary violations, and I believe 2 cases of people burning out their micro warp drives. So there's always things that people can do better, and it is extremely hard to remember when you're actually in that fight. But yeah, I think if I was to put out a number on it, um, in that setup specifically, I'd say maybe 30% on the pilot responsibility and then 70% for the bans, just because I feel like they were really important. And if you didn't get like the right links with your composition, it can really screw you over.
I think there is something to be said as well for when both teams just kind of go for it with bans and just pick random stuff, or like random bans anyway, I should say, rather than random ships. But because then you get some of the more exciting matches, and it really brings the possibility of somebody being a hero and just like taking out 4 members of the opposing team solo, which is obviously great to watch.
Yeah, and I think we actually see, I want to say more of that in the minor league, because I feel like the major league is all the teams who, you can really win big, you can really win a lot of prizes. So people take that slightly more seriously, they practice a lot more. They're kind of more in the metagame, whereas like minor league, from what I can tell, especially not all teams, but a lot of the teams will just say, "Hey, let's wing it. Like, just ban whatever you want. Make sure we get these ships because this is what we love, and let's just wing it." And I think we saw that a lot in season 1, especially where they'd bring some really crazy comps that we would never really see in Major League, and they just kind of dominated the field.
I have to admit, I think with the teams that are in the minor league now haven't gone through the cup experience to get there, and that it's probably going to bring and I don't mean this in a bad way at all, but bring the quality up a little bit in there. So I think there'll be a lot less of a difference between the major league and the minor league this year. Detrimental from an entertainment point of view, or you don't see those crazy things happening. It's not as much fun to watch, but hey, it might be better. You never know.
Well, this is season 2, so we did have some minor league teams make it into the major league. So do you think we'll see some of those crazy antics in the major league, or do you think those minor team leagues have really, I don't know, stepped it up to the major league kind of meta game?
I don't think we'll see much difference, to be honest. Like, I think everyone is kind of going to have their own thing. I'm not sure if there is really like kind of a major league thing. We'll have to see it. If they do come up with some special stuff, then it would be fun to see it. But I honestly think most of the stuff's kind of going to align.
Yeah, I think it's worth to mention that I don't know if it's most of the teams, but I think at least half the teams that were in last season, whether it be in the major leagues all the way through or in the minor leagues and then coming up, have probably got new players this time as well. So you might well see different things due to that.
Yeah, that's good to know too. I don't know if we really focus a lot on individual players. I know when we do commentary, sometimes we'll give shout outs to like a really good Logi pilot or like a really good Frig pilot, or people's just like when they do really, really well with piloting. But I think overall, I don't know if we focus on like an MVP player or pilots, so the change in roster I don't think will be as noticed until it's kind of called out.
One of the good things I think this season is that you've obviously got the stats from the Event Arena website, so you can kind of look at that and kind of go, this person's flown these ships and done this well in them and things like that. So it definitely gives you more interesting things to talk about, especially when we're waiting for matches to start and stuff, between bands and the actual games kicking off.
As soon as they get updated, yes.
Yeah, I did notice. I was looking at that, I believe, during the Cup, and because I have some friends, or I guess I have a lot of friends flying in these tournaments and flying on these teams, and I was like, this person definitely flew because I made fun of them, and it says they haven't flown in a match, so I don't know if these are right. But speaking of, do you guys find, I was going to say, Hoodie and Battle Dog, you guys are in the same alliance, but do you guys find that you're friends with most of the other, I don't know, like tournament teams, or maybe not friends, but acquaintances, like on good terms?
I think there's a lot of like friendship between specific teams. I know most of the captains in the major league and a lot of them in the minor league, a lot of players specifically, either like you have like personal contacts with them or you've flown with them before. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, one good thing to remember is that we all kind of do this because this is what we enjoy about the game, if you know what I mean. So there's always that, it's like a community within a community, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So you kind of get to know everybody even if you don't know them beforehand anyway, whether it's because you practice against them or because something awesome happened in a match you had against them or something like that,
Alright, so now for the opposite. Do you guys have like either friendly rivalries or real rivalries? Like I'm trying to think of like, like how professional sports, they always have like rivalries and whatnot. Do you think that happens within EVE at all? The EVE tournament scene?
Oh yeah. Some stuff hidden, that's not obvious to the public. There are some grudge matches and some stuff that people really want to win specifically. But I think there's some open rivalries as well. We kind of joke about it. Like you heard it already before we went live at the stream, but me and Battle Dog do that to each other the whole time. Like this kind of like seeing if we can poke some holes into each other's defenses. There, it's all fun and games.
Yeah, obviously we're all friends and stuff, but before the last tournament, well, for last season I should say, definitely give my team a little motivational speech saying, I don't care if we lose every match as long as we beat Sully and we beat Hoodie. Mainly because they're in my alliance.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was thinking like with the alliance tournament, and then especially as a commentator where you're like in local, like we see you guys come in and we see like the good fights or the banter or whatever you guys say. I think that's usually missed by the viewers compared to, say, I don't know, if you want to compare it to like professional sports or other like e-sports, I guess, if you want to call it that. It's always good. I think it's good that it's mostly friendly amongst you guys. And then
oh yeah, there's never any kind of serious, it's not even hatred, but there's never any serious dislike between the teams, I don't think, to be honest. The Alliance tournament might be slightly different, but in the championship anyway, my experience is definitely nothing like that so far.
Yeah. And then Loca, your team's new, Paradox, coming in to the tournament. I wouldn't say the tournament scene, but to the championship. So, have you made any friends or rivals yet?
We had a mini rivalry with Make Great again. This came from our first tournament experience was at the Tyrian Trophy. That was a few months ago now, I believe. They were the ones who won that tournament, and we entered 2 teams into it, and I think the furthest we got was quarter-final in that one, and we lost to a Make Great again along the way. So when we saw them in the Event Cup, we were kind of like, oh, we'd love to play against them, but then it never came around for us to do so. So, but obviously with the league, we will meet them. So we're pretty excited for that one. We'd like to get one back on them, I think, a little bit. But it's all good-natured as well. This is the other thing. We respect everybody in this tournament scene. That cup was extremely competitive. There were so many good teams in there, so many people with Alliance tournament experience, that anybody who made it through into this league, it justifiably deserves a place in there. So you have to respect everybody in the league. There is no bad teams, and that respect brings good-naturedness because you know that the other people know what they're talking about, and you know yourself that you've done well to get there. And the amount of respect is really noticeable. It's a little bit different in the Alliance tournament because in the Alliance tournament there's a huge amount of pressure, and and that still exists in the championship. But in the Alliance tournament, you have these unique ships that you can win, and there's so much at stake, and it's entire alliances entering, and these alliances will sometimes have rivalries going into it. Whereas with our format, where we just have captains who form the teams, and so, granted that there's people like ourselves in Paradox where we'll come entirely from one corporation, but those rivalries sort of end at the door, and we go in there and we compete with the best in the game to try and see how well we do against them. And that's the main sort of overlay, I believe, for every team when they go into the minor league is respect and competitiveness.
Yeah, it's one of the great things about Eve, really, isn't it? You have that kind of shared history with people that you fought against or with in the past and stuff. And I mean, in my case, like half my team's from Tuskers, and then there's quite a few guys that Ithaca's flown with before, and we've kind of known each other for a while and all that kind of stuff. And it's just great that we get the opportunity to do something as a team that we wouldn't have in the Alliance tournament, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, especially in the case of Ithaca, I know for sure I've had Ithaca, the CEO of Overload this, in Tranquility, we've had some very, very good fights with them, some very big fights, a lot of this lost, some fights went against and some went for. I know I've killed him a few times, and it was really good knowing that coming into the tournament. But, these things are there, but they're fun as well. It's nice to have these little things where you know the people from somewhere, and then you get to compete with them.
That's awesome to hear, but it's also super adorable that you guys are all being like, I want to say politically correct, but that the Eve tournament scene isn't some like grunge match or like mudslinging competition. So like that's super positive to hear.
We like to have a group hug, but sometimes we squeeze a little bit too tightly.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, if you ask people from Tuskers about PL, they've probably got slightly different opinions from the AT sort of thing.
Oh, you're starting to name call, man.
And the
That's gonna
same
be
thing
serious.
if you ask PL about Tuskers, probably. But yeah, I mean, it's all good natured, really. I think for the most part.
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say maybe we'll get some. I was gonna say you both are Tuskers. Maybe I'll get some PL guys on here or something. You guys can all yell at each other on Twitch and
Well,
stuff.
you've got plenty of them on staff, haven't you, really? So
Those guys didn't fly in the tournament though. Some of them did. We did have like I want to say like a PL team, but they called themselves Burnt Out, and they were a majority of members from the PL Alliance tournament team. And then I think they were kind of like me, where they just winged the matches. They didn't really care. Whereas, like,
oh, I'm sure they cared.
Maybe they were just bad.
wow, you guys. But yeah, like I mean, as I say, this tournament's more like there is a lot on the line. Like Loca was saying, there's you have that pressure. You can win the ship skins, or like there's sometimes Plex prizes, or you just want to be able to show up just to win your deposits back. But yeah, like it's not as intense as the Alliance tournament. Obviously, like not being on Tranquility, not actually losing really anything of ISK value makes these tournaments not only more accessible, but less stressful. Less stressful to the average player.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like at least for myself, and I think more pilots that have generally flown in tournaments, whether it be Alliance tournament or some other tournaments in Eve, that there's like the Alliance tournament is a lot of stress usually for all its members involved, and this is kind of like a move away from that. So this is, I don't think you could do like multiple Alliance tournaments a year either. People would get really burnt out from that one. So it's good that there's something with a little less pressure on it in between.
Yeah, I think the format that this is as well, with it being the league rather than being like a single elimination or double elimination tournament, definitely helps with that, because it's kind of, even if you start off with a few bad matches, you can always bring it back later on and still finish right up there if you beat the right teams,
Yeah, and it's always I want to say super interesting, because I think for both the major leagues and the minor leagues, as well as the time before the championship, it always came down to like who had the most points. And like we were having our stat people trying to like run, like do all their spreadsheets and figure out who actually had the most points so we could declare a winner, because it came down to like 1 or 2 points of a difference of making it versus not, or even not even being at the top, just like within the league, because like second place versus third place versus fourth place had different rewards for like skins and whatnot.
But when you say stat people, does that imply that you've got more than just Bay there with a calculator?
Oh yeah, we have. So that's a good question. That's Elinari. So she's actually running everything in the background, and so we have this massive spreadsheet pulled up with like different tabs, and she has, so like we're allowed to modify it, but she like locks everything down that we shouldn't modify, so that way like she can go in and modify it, and then if there's like any like spelling errors or things like that, like we can point out to her, or like we can correct ourselves. But so like as the matches are happening live, she's sitting there pulling all the lost mails on Thunderdome, and then like running the stats, making sure like the like match points add up, that like the league points add up, who won, who lost, who like completely dominated, things like that, so we can all see it live. And so I think it was the Clever Girls match, not the last championship, but before that, when Even T collides. Like the match got over and they I think won by like 1 point, but we had to run all the points behind the scenes to make sure that they actually won. So
Yeah, it's definitely one of the great things that I love about it. Sorry to interrupt, but one of the things I love about this format as well is that you get, I mean, like in the Fight Club, and then the last season of the Major League, at least anyway, we got down to the last day, and there was still multiple teams that could win it depending on results of matches and stuff, So it's never sort of decided right until the very end.
Yeah, and I think that's what keeps some teams playing, because like a lot of them, like even if you lose 4 matches, the 5th one you could still keep yourself in the league, and go to next season to try and do better. But,
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of pride comes into it at that point, I think.
yeah, for sure, because then you don't have to like, I was gonna say, because the teams that got kicked out from the minor league last season, they could compete again, but they had to go through the cup, and obviously that's a little more stressful, being single elimination and then lasting a full weekend. Like, so the pilots probably could have been easily burnt out from doing that. I want to say I had something else. Nikal, are you still there?
Yep.
So say, is this your first sort of Eve tournament that you've been kind of helping with?
Yeah, I've only really watched like some of the Alliance tournaments and a few of the Event tournaments before, but this has been the first time I've actually managed to kind of see the new teams and watch them through a tournament from start to finish. So I'm still kind of getting to learn who everyone is and what their real names were in Tranquility sort of thing. But yeah, from what I've seen so far, it's been really, really good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you have anything that surprised you from going as a viewer to being sort of staff behind the scenes?
Well, especially as a commentator, there is so much to keep track of. Even from just simple camera work to actually quickly flicking through fits and talking about, which you really do have to double check most of the time. To learning like the observer interface and that, it was a lot to take on at once. And mad props to you guys for what you do, because it is not easy.
It gets better with time, and it really helps when everything works properly, which, as we know, it's Eve, so not everything works 100% of the time. But I was gonna say, you actually hosted the cup at least one of those days, correct?
Yeah.
So you get mad props for doing that on your own. I've never really hosted a tournament or been host of a tournament or anything along those lines. But I was gonna say, you handled that pretty well, going in and having to, like, I want to say, learn everything as well as be on camera and asking questions to all the folks involved.
Yeah, I mean it's something that I've done before for a couple of years, and the concept sort of keeping the talk going is one of the hardest things to do. But we had a lot of guys working on just looking at things in between games and making a note of it so that we could talk about it after the games. And I could literally just pick a question out of the top of my head that say, okay, what do we think of Scorpion's armor fits? And I could ask anyone on the casting team and they would have a great thought out response and generate some really good discussion from it. So, yeah, it was really, really good. I think you learn an awful lot from it because, as I said, these aren't player-made fits. Everyone can see them, including all teams and the players. So there's a lot of discussion to be had in between the games about why they picked certain choices, and also why they didn't pick some, because there was definitely some ships we never saw at all during that tournament.
Now I really want to ask you about things specific to the tournament, but I don't know That might be too specific. But what's your favorite? Let's say, what's your favorite ship of the tournament, or what one do you always hope kind of shows up in a fight?
I'm a massive fan of Galante blaster boats. So for me, every time I saw the Hyperion was a big moment for me, and the Brutix as well was another one I really liked seeing. Other than that, one of the other interesting things I liked looking out for was which type of links different teams picked. If they would go for the standard sort of tank links and just go, okay, I'm just going to take armor and shield boosts, or if they would go for skirmish or info and something like that. And there's definitely some very interesting combinations that come out of them that I wouldn't have predicted.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think so. Yeah, this tournament's actually, or the cup, was one of the ones where they actually updated Thunderdome so that way the new links changes could be implemented. So that's also something to keep an eye out going forward. I guess I mean, I fly around a lot on Lowsec on Tranquility, so I barely even notice links anymore because people don't really use them, and even now that they're on grid, like, it's very obvious when they are using them.
I like the new link system. I think it's a lot better than the old one, and not just sitting outside of a POS bubble with them active cloaked up. It's a lot nicer than that, and I think it was a change that was needed for a long time. It was interesting to see how they panned out in competitive play, though, because obviously a much different use case than say your standard, I don't know, 100, 200 man fleets that you see out in Null.
Yeah, for sure. And have you been around them enough, or like learned about them enough to be able to identify what links are which based on the burst bubble that they have?
No, probably a couple months of doing that, but most of the time I'm concentrating on other things. But I didn't know there was a different sort of graphic for each of them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I know when they first announced the changes that they said that there would be different graphics, so I'm pretty sure that made it all the way to Tranquility. I don't know it either though, so I have no clue. It always scares me though because I think it's a warp disruptor bubble, but it's just links, so it kind of calms me. But anyway, back to tournaments, and not links because links always get people sometimes very heated. So, what are you guys looking forward to most tomorrow? We'll start with you, Loca, since you already told us about your expectations of tomorrow and how you're getting ready. What are you looking forward to most?
I'm looking forward to that excitement again. It was such a rush going into that cup. I don't know if I personally will be playing after moving country this week, but I'm really hyped to see how the guys who have been practicing really hard over this past week or so just managed to apply themselves into the competition itself. We're really just excited to be there. We only just made it. We went the very long way around through the seventh place playoff. So we are officially the underdogs in every situation, every match that we go into now. So we're just gonna go in there. We're gonna fight. We're gonna see how we do against these teams.
All right, and then Nikal. I feel like I'm saying your name wrong every time I say it. But I believe you are commentating tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, I think I'm hosting tomorrow, so I'll definitely be around.
Alright, so you'll probably be on camera the whole time then, is what I'm guessing.
Probably. I might sneak a game in here or there, though. We'll see how it goes.
Alright, so what are you looking forward to most tomorrow then? Or are you kind of nervous for tomorrow?
I'm going to see. Well, the main thing I'm going to be looking at is really how different it is to the last cup and what happened there. How the new fits work out. I haven't had a chance to look at any of the new fits as of yet. Be interesting to see if some of them are similar or if they're all completely different. Personally, I hope they're all really completely different because I like seeing new stuff all the time. But yeah, there's going to be a few names I'm watching out for. Tempest definitely got my attention last time. And also Nasty Boys.
So are you going to be cheering for them or just watching for their antics?
I don't know. It's a tough one. I don't want to put myself down as rooting for anyone just yet. But I think maybe a few games in tomorrow, I'll definitely have a favorite. I think.
Nice.
And it will be Power Ducks.
I can't forget Power Ducks, man. They were also very, very good.
Alright, and so Battle Dog and Hoodie, I know you guys said you were going to definitely be watching tomorrow. Is there anything you're looking forward to?
Nothing in particular, really. I mean, I think there's a couple of really great teams in there. I think probably the best matches aren't actually going to happen till the 2 weeks after. So kind of everything. I kind of want to see what people come up with and see if there's any surprises coming from the teams.
Wait, what do you mean the best matches won't happen till 2 weeks after?
On the 19th of February, there's some absolutely awesome ones.
Oh, for the matchups? Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I was talking matchup specific. Yeah.
Alright, I thought you were just like saying all the pilots weren't going to be that good tomorrow, but by 2 weeks from now, they will definitely be better.
they're probably good, and I think
Thanks,
it's
Hoodie.
going to be great tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, I'm kind of looking out for the teams that I know people from, and obviously there's some really experienced tournament teams in there as well. I mean, Exodus are in there, Vidra's in there, and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do and what kind of things they pull out, and obviously how some of the fit changes work out as well, and what kind of things get used. But mainly, I love to see explosions, and I love to see teams that commit fully to what they're doing and just go for it and do everything they can. You know, put everything into it.
Alright, so you mentioned knowing some of the players. Do you do what I do, where you kind of like throw shade or haze at them in Twitch chat? Or do you like give them very encouraging words and like, I don't know, whisper them on tranquility and be like, hey man, you got this? How do you treat that, Battle Dog?
I wouldn't say I whisper them on tranquility and stuff like that. I mean, the captains and stuff and players from teams that I generally know reasonably well is because we practice with them and stuff like that. So I'm generally like talking to them on Slack and just kind of going, yeah, you know, just encouraging stuff generally, or just kind of going, if you lose this, I'm going to do this and stuff like that. You know, I mean, there's been occasions where I've kind of had little side bets with people before matches as well, which is always interesting. You know.
I can actually recall a specific scenario where you said if you would lose something, you would give away skin.
Yeah, I had a bet with Ithaca Hawk on one of our matches, I think it was. Um, yeah, and it was kind of like if you win this or lose this kind of thing, I'll give you a tournament skin. So, and he ended up pulling it off. So he ended up taking home was it Sancho Victory skins we got from the last tournament? He took one of them off me for winning that bet.
Damn. Maybe you shouldn't make bets. Aren't those worth like a lot of IS?
I almost didn't mind staying, you know.
Oh, okay, okay. And then,
I mean, I definitely had bets with Catatonic from Clever Girls as well in the in Fight Club. We had I think we had 1.5 bill. We each bet on that as to who would win when we fought each other. So all good. Thankfully we won that one, so that paid out right nicely.
oh man. I was gonna say, don't you have, speaking of skins, aren't you giving one away tomorrow during the stream? Or did I dream that?
Yes. Yeah, same as during the cup. I've basically said that I'll donate a skin to the person that donates the most IS to the IS Starter Fund that you guys have, which is obviously great for showing appreciation, the amount of work that you guys put into all this stuff. Because I mean, we're the ones that really benefit from this, if you know what I mean. Because we get to do this and we do the fun part of it, where you guys get to do all the work in the background to make it happen. You know.
I don't know. After flying in a team, I don't think I'd ever want to be like a player, a participant in a tournament. And I find it definitely more, well, it is stressful. I find it more relaxing to commentate than it is to actually fly. But no, I will. We'll definitely promote that tomorrow. I think we can get a bot up and running. I think Dwygon uses his Twitch character or his Twitch account as a bot. We can spam that to everyone if they wanna. What was it? I think yeah, we have the starter campaign already too.
Yeah. I think Bay's got some ideas about what he wants to is the prize for. I don't know if he wants to do the highest individual donation or do some other thing for that. But I mean, the Loca might be able to give us some more details on that actually.
Sure, I was just about to say actually, feel free to have a conversation with Dwight on that tomorrow if you do so wish. We did have many people talk to him, and unfortunately maybe not get responses. But if you do like a talk with a robot, Dwargon will be available tomorrow. So yeah, his starter is crazy good, and Battle is very generous in giving us a skin away for that. It's really I can't explain just how much it helps the streamers that used to be funded by casino sites such as EveBet. That money no longer exists in the game since the casinos have been cancelled, and but we still need a way to be able to fund streamers, and the way that we do that is through Kickstarter. So it is essentially becoming the GoFundMe of EVE Online, and the more it gets used, the more the streams will improve, and it'll be able to add to the incentives for people to step up and start doing it themselves. You'll just start seeing more creative, more third-party websites, and through Kickstarter we support so many different projects. There's lots of different things you can get involved with, and if anybody is welcome to put up a project for their own funding if they want to. You just go to the Starter website, have a look at the terms and conditions, just have a quick application, and you yourself could receive funding for a project that you maybe had as an idea but didn't have the assets in game to pull it off. So it's a fantastic idea. It's a wonderful project. It's still getting off the ground. It's still nice and new. But we're starting to see some really good success coming out of it, and I hope to see that long continue. And thank you again, BattleDog, for your generous donation tomorrow.
Yeah, that's awesome. And for those who haven't actually seen the skin, I don't think I have any photos of it now, but that was the IGC Apocalypse skin, which is absolutely beautiful. Those are the ones we give out for the tournaments, or for Season 1 of Championship. The winners got those skins.
Yeah, extremely rare and valuable.
Yeah, I know we got them just recently on Tranquility, and they were selling at like 10 bill. But then as the markets obviously got more, as if people redeemed their skins, it kind of dropped. But I don't think they go below 2 bill at all. Unless, like, you're one of those cheeky people that play the Gita market really well and someone just accidentally sells to your buy order.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning. It's quite interesting the way we got the skins as well, because we didn't just get given the skins, we got given codes to redeem them for, and we had to do them like one at a time, sort of thing. So my team won 35, so I had to do 35 individual codes to redeem them and then hand them out to people and stuff like that. And I feel a bit of sympathy for Hoodie, because his team won 105. You won, Hoodie, I think. So you had to go through and do all those.
Here's your problem. You need to start delegating, BattleDog.
So you just gave all the codes out to everyone, did you?
I just
and did it themselves.
I just gave out the codes to like 2 dudes and just spread the rest out. Go ahead.
I don't know, I think I'd find it pretty satisfying copying and pasting a link for 4 bill each time I hit enter.
It was quite funny watching the G market when they first all hit the market, though, because it was kind of started off at 10 bill and people were doing like 0.1 ISK increments on for a while, and then you'd get people that would get bored of that and do like 2 bill under and 1 bill under and things like that, all the way down to the current price now, I think, which hit more or less a day or two after.
Let's undercut this guy by 6.5 bill. I'll get myself sold.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was gonna say. What's up?
So go ahead. I was just going to say, it's worth bearing in mind as well, with these skins being unique and unique skins being used and added to players by people that buy them, etc., the value is only going to go up once the market stabilizes. So if you get your hands on one of these now, it's only going to go up over time, and you could end up seeing some serious return on any donations you give tomorrow. So it's really worth having a go at picking it up. It's crazy. The winner last weekend won a 4 billion skin by donating 800 million ISK. So not only did they support a streamer somewhere, they also made 3.2 bill profit just from being generous, essentially. It's a really good way to get a return back.
Man, that's such a good deal. Like, I'm pretty sure BattleDog, because you said, like, even T staff couldn't donate, could they?
Well, but what I kind of said was that for the cup thing, like all the donations that came in for the duration of the broadcast, for like the 3-hour thing, whatever it was, on the last day anyway, this was, that I would match those donations, and then I'd put a skin up that I would then give to the person that did the highest individual donation. Yeah, and because I was kind of like constantly doing the update saying this is the highest donation so far, there was a few people that were kind of like, oh, I'll put in this much and get that for nice and cheap sort of thing. So I kind of had to say that anyone that's actually seen the updates live, like more live than the stream guys were, that I wasn't going to let them win unless they matched my donation overall.
Ah, okay. I was gonna say I'm really jealous because that's like a super good deal. And these skins are. I actually pulled it up because I have Eve running on the background of the stream so that you could see the Apocalypse skin. It looks super pretty. I'm super impressed by CCP's work and the fact that they gave them to be given out to tournament winners, to these players who dedicate a lot of time and effort to, like, I guess, entertain the masses. So thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of prize we get for the coming season as well, because I assume it's going to be another skin. So I'm assuming that because we've had 2 Tier 1 battleships so far, that we'll probably get a Scorpion or a Dummy. But for all I know, we could get anything really. We could get a Hype, we could get a Rock, we could get a Tempest, anything like that really. So should be interesting to see what they come up with.
Would like to request a Macarial. Thanks.
Yeah, that would be pretty sweet, really, wouldn't it?
We don't even use the Macarial in this tournament. So what?
Yeah, but it looks awesome. It just looks so nice.
That is true. I think that's what CCP is keeping with, like, the battleships and then one of each race. But I don't know how much of a say like the eventee really gets. I think we're just like, hey, can we get some support, and then they do or don't.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's a CCP kind of go. You can use these sort of thing. But I know you're a massive skin fan, Rain. So do you have anything in particular that you'd like to see as the prize for this coming season?
Oh god. I mean, I don't really fly battleships. I think the Rogue would look best for the skins, though.
Would you be quite happy with the new Tristan skin?
I mean, yeah, the Tristan skin would be really good, or like I fly like cruiser Logi a lot, so if they went from battleships to cruisers or something, or like the classic Drake. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think, like, I'm trying to think of like the ship types, because they always pick like the long horizontal ships. So I would think the Rogue would be a good one, or I guess the Hyperion. But I don't know. I'm not like Nikal's a huge like Hyperion fan, and I don't think it'd look that good.
It's sort of one of those things. People love the Hyperion and people hate it. A lot like the Dominics. You'll find people who either really like it or really hate it. There's no middle ground with the Dominics or Hyperion.
Give some love to the T1 Logi. Like, give me like an exec skin or something. There's nothing scarier than logging into Tranquility, seeing a T1 Logi in front of you with a 4 billion skin showing.
Yeah, always nice, really, isn't it?
I mean, that shows dedication, right? Like, if you're gonna fly like a really, a T1 cruiser hull or a T1 battleship hull, but then you spend 4 bill just on the like aesthetics of it, not even on like officer fits or anything. That obviously shows that you are dedicated to that ship, and you should know that ship really well.
It means you are a total baller. Because absolute baller.
Yeah, I've got a Gamma that I love to fly that I'd love to have the Raptor Sunset skin for, but it's just so expensive. It's kind of, can you justify it? And in the same vein as well, like that's because we do like a Secret Santa thing every year, and this year I got gifted a Barkist, which I don't have any nice skins for yet, and I keep looking at the skins for that and getting tempted to click that buy now button, but I managed to restrain myself so far. But I'm going to do it eventually. I'm going to have to.
Alright, so I'm gonna ask you guys the legendary question that I always like banter about when I commentate. So, do you guys actually make an effort to do like matching ship skins when you're in these tournaments? Whether it's like the AT or the championship or anything. Do you guys make an effort for that, or is it kind of just like an afterthought?
I think the plans are usually always there to do something like that. You're always kind of talking about it, like, oh, like we should do matching skins, or we should all have like this particular skin. But it usually gets lost in the preparation stages because there's not a lot of time either for AT or for these tournaments before you actually get teleported to the matches, and it kind of gets lost there. That's the way it goes for me, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth noting that we always like to do things like that, but kind of we do the planning phase, and then we have like say maybe 15, maybe 20 minutes absolute max to like basically spawn the ships with the fits and everything, and get everyone into ships and get ready to go and ready to get teleported and stuff. So the skins is kind of the last thing you think about, but it's from my point of view, it's kind of like I don't ask the team if they're ready until I've already bought myself a skin and put it on the ship.
Yeah, we have a guy to do that. We always pick our team. We put 5 players on, and then we all sit here shaking and nervous and all that, and then like we'll get the 6th guy to buy us all the skin and trade it to us real quick so we can look baller while we're nervous. Just gotta have that guy ready to dish out the Thunderdome skins. It's a very important part of the team roster.
Yeah, of course we all know as well that if we don't have a skin, we'll get so much abuse from the commentators that you just have to do it.
Particularly Rain. Rain's terrible. You shouldn't.
So like, because like when you're getting ready, like Nikal was saying earlier, like the tournament tools, you know, sometimes you have to learn how to use them pretty quick. But once they're ready, and then if the match doesn't start right away for whatever reason, you're like, oh well, you know, I see the way they warped in. Let me go look at these ships, and then you're like, why is that guy like without a ship skin? You're on Thunderdome. The ship skin is free. Like it literally just takes like 30 seconds to paste it, inject it, and then activate it. And then like you're on the battlefield and you don't even look scary to the opponent. And then I also really like I always feel as though, you know, like someone with a ship skin obviously, you know, knows the ship better, puts more effort in, and that like that's obviously not true. But I mean, on Tranquility it kind of is. You know, if you fly a ship so much, you might as well get a ship skin for it. So then that way, like on Thunderdome, if you're like, oh, somebody's in a ship skin, they must fly this ship a lot, like that kind of mentality. Which I don't know how well that translates, but that's what I think of when I'm flying things, and especially when I fly against other people. If I'm fighting other Tristans and I know they have a Tristan skin, I'll say, oh, they obviously really like the Tristan, they must know it well, then therefore they probably spent the is to get a ship skin. So that's why I get really disappointed when pilots don't have ship skins.
We'll try to get some matching skins going this time then. If that makes you happy.
Well, and then if you win, we can credit it to the ship skins and not your piloting ability.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. And if we lose, can we also credit it then?
Yeah. No, if you lose, it's because you don't have a ship skin.
Right.
Yeah.
Are we going to start seeing some Tuskers collusion skin wearing? We just see you all turn up in the same skin when you're against each other.
There's definitely odd occasions last season where I was kind of like, okay, so we're probably going to use a shield comp. And I was like, you literally spend 5 minutes just thinking, can I get a Kestrel into this just to make Suitoni happy? But unfortunately, not so far anyway.
It's actually pretty clever that you guys think of those things. That the stress of, or the stress of, you know, the tournaments don't really bog you down from that. Wow. Thekla in chat, it says, when in doubt, blame Rain. That is not my fault. It's not my fault people don't decorate their ships.
It is always Rain's fault. Thank you for pointing that out in chat.
What you guys should also do is, oh man, you know like how CCP added kill marks and people are like sometimes really smug about their kill marks? Would it be unreasonable to like have your ships ready and then undock and kill like T1 frigate, empty T1 frigate holes just to give your ship kill marks? Or is that like...
Again, you would have that amount of time, to be honest, but it's not a bad idea. I mean, we could pre-stage some stuff just if it'll make you happy.
No, that won't make me happy.
If you're going to get bonus points for this, of course, you know, I mean, we'll definitely do it.
No, I would just think that would be some like crazy amount of dedication. Like a ship skin is like, okay, this pilot put an effort to decorate their ship skin and kind of be intimidating to a team, or you know, whatever, they just want to look pretty. But if some guy...
Nah.
What?
I think they need to go out and earn them properly. I don't think any of this spawning ships. I think they need to go and cruise around the Thunderdome server with about 20 people on in total and find someone to kill. Don't give me it easy.
You do realise you're just setting yourself up for a fall with this, because if someone actually does this and you don't notice the kill marks on the hull, you can get so much abuse.
I know, and kill marks are super hard to see, and I'm gonna get so much shade on that. But like, how intimidating would that be if, like, you know, like tournaments sometimes take a while to start even when you're both sitting in the arena. So you just so happen to like look at an opponent's ship, like some people do. I guess it's more for like Alliance tournament when you have like different guns or you don't know the fits. So you like go over to look at like some dude's battleship to try and see what guns he's using or whatever, and you notice like 200 kill marks. Like, wouldn't that be intimidating?
There's one guy in Tuskers who's got, I think he's on about 60 odd kills in his KDs right now. So the kill marks on that look pretty slick, as you can imagine. But whether anybody actually looks at that while he's killing them, I very much doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I think shipskin's probably where I'll like draw my line at banter against like pilots. Because I think it's the point of, I mean, one, if you're bringing in, you know, an AT ship with a lot of kill marks, or if you take the time to go out and get a lot of kill marks, I think that's kind of, not crazy, but that's like a little too into it. Do you guys think I'm right? Or do you guys not care about kill marks at all?
I have some funny attachment to kill marks, to be very honest. Like sometimes when I lose a ship with like 60 kill marks on it, I would have rather just the money for the ship like twice instead of losing the kill marks. So it's definitely there.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that I would buy another ship, use that rather than the one that's got the kill marks on, just to keep it with the kill marks on. But there's definitely that little sad moment when you realise that you lost all those kill marks when you finally lose that hull.
Yeah, I've only got a few ships that have a decent amount on, and by decent amount, you probably guys have like 50. But I think the most I have on one was about 10 on a Daredevil. But I knew a guy in my alliance who had about 155 on a Svipple. And he gate camped with this constantly, and it was just ridiculous because it would take up like half of his hull with the stickers, or whatever you want to call them.
Alright, maybe that's just, yeah, I was gonna say, I'd never check for kill marks, and I don't really notice them on my own ship unless my ship somehow survives really long. But definitely skins. You have to have the skin game going on. Alright, we're at the top of the hour. Do you guys still want to keep going, or do you guys want to go do real life stuff?
I'm gonna go off very soon. It's actually 12 o'clock for me, so I gotta go up quite early tomorrow, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Does anyone else want to stay, or you guys want to head out?
I'm gonna need to drop in the next half hour anyway, so makes sense for me.
You guys are all like from Europe. This is like the worst time.
Yes.
I should have planned this better. Where are all my American pilots?
Okay, no hablo English.
What? Alright, so thank you all for being on the show. I know chat was actually super quiet, which I find always to be really weird, but maybe they just are listening for your intel that you hopefully didn't give too much away of. Thank you all for hanging out. I will end the stream. Yeah, I'll play Manic's video again on the stream because that's actually absolutely hilarious. Have you guys seen that yet?
Yeah, it's definitely good. Pretty good.
Yeah, I laugh so hard. Alright, so thank you all. Have a good night.
So
Thanks
just
for having
before
us.
As we determine who will win the bragging rights of being the best in a video game about spaceship. Hello everyone, this is and I want to welcome you to the EVE-NT Cup, a tournament hosted by EVE-NT in an attempt to bring some legitimacy to EVE Online by turning it into an esports